Welcome to Oddball. I'm Charlotte Wilder. That over there, as always, is Amin Elhassan. Oddball is presented by DraftKings, and stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings Pick Six and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Hell yeah.
There you go. I mean, happy finals week.
Yeah.
We're obviously going to be talking about Luka, Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum's relationship, Porzingis' calf. But we got to be honest with the good folks at home. We have 2 more days before game 1. And a different story got us more fired up from the weekend, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. No, I mean, like, it dominated all the conversation. You could say it's because there was a void and it filled the void. Or you could say it is just part of this crescending wave of attention and notoriety, I guess at this point we can call it, that the WNBA has been receiving. But it is the Caitlin Clark clash with the Chicago Sky over the weekend that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say it was that the Pistons have a new GM. But let's quickly catch people up on the conversation from social this weekend. People have noticed some hard fouls on Caitlin Clark in her first few games in the WNBA. This one was from Kennedy Carter of the Chicago Sky. And before this is what Caitlin had to say about taking these sorts of fouls.
That's just basketball at the end of the day. No, that's never gonna change. I'm never gonna lose that. I feel like I'm getting hammered.
So part of this, obviously, the Kennedy Carter, that was a pretty hard foul. She knocked Caitlin Clark over. What people aren't talking about is a few plays before that. Caitlin Clark elbowed Kennedy Carter. A player like Kennedy Carter plays very physically. That is a normal thing in this league, that if someone comes at you, you're going to come at them. Kennedy Carter is also Angel Reese's teammate on the Chicago Sky. And Angel is, they're famously, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are rivals going back to LSU Iowa days. So people noticed when Angel seemed to celebrate with Carter after that play. It's all sort of exhausting. I mean,
no, I mean, like, here's the weird thing. It's like, I get it. There are going to be people who haven't watched WNBA basketball and they're arriving, but it feels like a lot of the people commenting and reacting don't watch basketball at all. They think it's like High School Musical, where it's like, we don't like that girl, man, and just hit her for no reason. Like, oh, how can you do that? Welcome to the WNBA, punk. Or that's not. The moment I saw the video and I saw, like, in a pretty much a dead ball inbound situation, Carter run up and hip check the hell out of Caitlin Clark, the first thing I said was, wait a second, what happened before that? Because a reverse angle, you could see her calling her, you know what? Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, so clearly this was instigated in some way. This isn't just like, you know what? I think it's time to send her a welcome wagon. Like, that's not what's happening here. So, right. And then obviously that happens. You see Angel Reese on the bench celebrating. Yeah, like, that's what teammates do. The thing that I'm asking is, wait a second, where were Caitlin Clark's teammates? And I say that in the sense of this. I'm not even talking about what we're going to get to in a second, whether the Fever need an enforcer or not, like a certified goon to take care of these situations. I'm talking about what everyone who's ever played team sports, whether you played middle school or you played all the way in the NBA or WNBA or college, wherever. When a teammate falls down, the bare minimum is people run up and help them up. That's the bare minimum. Now, you want to escalate, there are people going to be like, well, why'd they fall down? Is it your fault? Hey, man, you're not going to do that. You're not going to, like, think about the other day in Pacers versus Celtics, right, last week, where Miles Turner gets a little aggressive, and Jaylen Brown, in walking over to check on his teammate, throws a little cheap shove. Yeah. And Miles Turner shoves the hell. Like, that's what teammates do. Yeah. That's what teammates do. So the interesting thing here, Charlotte, is are you asking the right questions? The questions are not, hey, why wasn't there anyone to kind of shove Carter back or do anything? Not that. That's the wrong question. The right question is, why was no one coming to Caitlin Clark's defense at all? Like, or just to pick her up? Right.
I mean, there are all sorts of things in this situation. I mean, that We don't know. We're not in those locker rooms. We don't know what her teammates' reactions to her are. I think Caitlin, in the piece that Wright Thompson wrote for ESPN, Caitlin has clashed with teammates before. It took the other players at Iowa a little while to get on board. And look, she's not in college anymore. She's playing with professional athletes who. Yeah. And, you could see in college, if you're like, oh, wow, okay, we're at Iowa. We haven't been great at basketball. We got this generational player. Like, I'm pretty happy to be on board this bandwagon. That's not how other professionals feel. That's not how other players on the Fever feel, I'm sure. They're like, no, I also am a professional and I also earned this. And we are here. And you are not the second coming of, basketball Jesus.
And even if you were, does that allow you free reign to talk to me any which way or treat me any which way? And again, I'm not saying that that's what's happening in the Indiana Fever locker room and that's why. But what I am saying is there is throughout history a pre-prescribed reaction to hostile acts, right? And that thing didn't happen. So I'm thinking either A, teammates didn't see it happen, B, teammates felt like they're already carrying a lot of technical fouls or whatever, and this might cause suspension / a fine that they can't afford.
Yeah.
C, I don't really rock with her like that.
Right.
And we don't have an answer, but I'm just telling you, there's no place where it's like, ooh, I hope she's okay, and then they just don't do anything. That doesn't happen in team sports. I'll give you. I'm sorry. I'll give a great example.
Yes.
At Chris Childs on my podcast, Black Opinions Matter. You get wherever you get podcasts, BOMM, right? Don't ask what the other M stands for. And so Chris Childs famously had this fight with Kobe Bryant. He two-pieced the hell out of him, right? So Chris Childs comes on the pod. He tells us a story. He says he had been kind of elbowing me a little dirty all game long, and I'm telling the ref, look out for this. Ref, he's doing it, and the ref wouldn't do anything. So finally, he says to the ref, do something about it before I do. Kobe does it again. He looks at the ref. Chris Childs looks at the ref. The ref doesn't do anything. Just kind of shrugs. And that's when Chris Childs unleashes the 1-2 punch. Now, the interesting thing is this. Chris Childs said this. Watch the video. Watch what Shaq does when I do that. Shaq doesn't rush in there, shoving me, cold cocking me, or even like pulling me away or separating. He just sits back and watches. Because somewhere in between that relationship at that time, Shaquille O'Neal said, yeah, maybe he needs to get his ass beat a little bit. My teammate, but also,
Right. And Matt Barnes of All the Smoke raised a similar point the other day. He said this.
My issue and my question is, where the are her teammates at? Where y'all at? Where the rest of the Indiana Fever at? I've seen a couple girls smirk when she's got knocked down, half-assed to pick her up. Like, y'all supposed to protect the asset, protect the star. It's your guys' job to have her back and have each other's back. Got to do better, ladies.
So, part of I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I can't speak to this. I don't know. They say Draymond also said they need an enforcer. Well, we are not inside that ecosystem to know exactly what's happening here. I can't say one way or another, she needs to do this differently, or they need to get this player, or this player needs to stick up for her. It's like, it is so much more complex than everybody is making this out to be, Amin.
Yeah, so it's the thing. So the way Matt is talking almost implies like the Fever, like, oh, was that our job?
Right.
And that's my point. It's like, Shaq didn't not step in because he didn't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
Shaq didn't step in because he was like, had it coming.
Yeah.
You had it coming.
I also
Even
think
if he wasn't going to say that out loud.
Right. That's what that action implies. I also want to be clear that Caitlin Clark has done amazing things for the WNBA. We're not saying she hasn't. We're not saying she isn't bringing in so many new fans, and that's great. Like, this isn't where were you 3 years ago? It's like, no, come in. Like, it's only good for the league to have more people watching. I do think that these new fans need to understand that this kind of physicality in the league is not new. Here is a brawl from Candace Parker's rookie season. It was 2008, LA Sparks versus Detroit Shock. This is a fight between Planette Pearson and Candace Parker. I mean, they're dragging each other to the ground. Her teammates, as we were talking about, they're coming to her defense. I mean, it becomes an all-out team-on-team fight. Earlier this season, like that's 2008, 2024.
But you, like, there's like 8 people there.
Yeah.
That thing happens, and 8 people are there from both colored jerseys. So it's like that's what happens when something that is felt like a hostile act occurs. That's the prescribed reaction, as I called it earlier.
Right. Exactly. And this isn't like, 2008, things have eased up. This is Alyssa Thomas taking down Angel Reese by the neck earlier this season, and what Angel said afterwards.
I'm a basketball player. They don't give a damn if I'm a rookie. I mean, I want them to come at me every day. I want them to come at everybody. I mean, they're not supposed to be nice to me. I hope y'all know that. They're not supposed to be nice to me or lay down because I'm Angel Reese or because I'm a rookie. Like, thank you, AT, for sending a message to me, because I got back up and I kept going and kept pushing. Like, me and AT have been cool since we were at Maryland, so I know it's not no hard feelings, and I appreciate her for going at me every day.
There it is, right? Like, respect off the court. You play as hard as you're going to play. And I mean, I think something that it is impossible to ignore the fact here that Caitlin Clark is a white woman, and that race plays into this. And to be fair, Caitlin Clark is under a microphone. Cameron Brink, another white player, a rookie, she's also taken some hard fouls, and the conversation is around Caitlin. But we've seen race come into the conversation with Clark and Reese since LSU Iowa. Caitlin Clark, remember, she was the joy and passion for the game. Angel and LSU were classless. A columnist for the LA Times called them dirty debutantes. And I don't know if it's always conscious, but people are reacting to Clark as if she needs to be protected. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Black athletes are fouling her. And this is the way America typically views white women and has typically viewed white women. You know, you would never say, wow, you really need to take it easy on Chet Holmgren in his rookie year. And nationally, I don't see people saying that about Black players in the WNBA. They didn't get up in arms when Alyssa Thomas threw Angel Reese to the ground. And you could say that Caitlin Clark's comments play into it, where she says, I'm getting hammered, and she says, I'm not going to retaliate. Like, I'm not saying it's Caitlin's fault. I'm not saying that the way she is reacting to this is why we're talking about it this way. But I think that it's just it's the elephant in the room. And it is impossible to talk about Caitlin Clark and the rest of the WNBA without acknowledging that race plays a huge role in this conversation.
Yeah, it's America, where race plays a role everywhere. Sometimes it's overt, sometimes it's subverted, but it's there. It doesn't go away, right? And it doesn't invalidate her talent. So in the same way that, 2 decades ago, people were like, Eminem's a great rapper, and they say, well, he just gets a lot of attention because he's white. Yes, Eminem got a lot of attention because he was white. Also, he's a great rapper. Like, that's the two things can coexist. They can be true. You can be really great and also benefit from something, or have the conversation shaped around that principle of race. And so, part of it is nobody gave a shit when it happened to Angel Reese, because there's that race dynamic. Part of it is also like nobody cared about it when it was Cameron Brink, who is white, but it's like Cameron Brink is not at this point the same kind of attention getter. And it all circles back to one thing. When something grows, there is an instant reaction from the people who love that thing to be like, who are all these new people? You don't get it. Get away. That's not the reaction. Because if you love this thing and you want it to grow and you want it to get bigger, you have to be welcoming. But you have to teach the people coming in. This is normal. This is not. This happens all the time. That was a little weird, right? And through that conversation, you hope they become more nuanced and have a better palate for what they're watching, because otherwise, like I said, you get the people that watch High School Musical and are like, oh my God, it's beef, like what, West Side Story or whatever. And
it's
that
anything.
Doesn't help anybody.
If you parachute into anything without context and the fullness and the history of it, you are going to miss a lot of what's going on. And I also think,
but also we can't expect people to do homework. Like, that's why I'm like, you gotta bring them along. You can't push them away for not knowing what they don't know.
Totally. And that's, hopefully we've done some of that here today. I also think that the conversation around sports, people are like, oh, well, don't we want people to talk about women's sports the way they talk about men's sports? The conversation gets a lot more charged because of how Black women are treated in this country. There's a way uglier set of subtext. And also men's sports, there are also some pretty ugly racial subtext that happen already. So I think hopefully it's something that we'll just keep getting better at. I think it's amazing how much attention there is on this league. And hopefully here at Oddball, you'll keep rocking with us as you learn more about it. But I mean, we have to talk about Joe Mazzulla getting philosophical and being weird. So that is coming up next. Welcome back to Oddball. Amin, we got to talk about our boy Joe Mazzulla, our favorite weirdo. And we talked about Kyrie's return to Boston last week, and here's what Joe had to say about it.
Kyrie is going to be perceived as a villain in the series.
Aren't we all? In someone's eyes.
Pardon me?
We're all villains in someone's eyes.
My favorite part of that is the reporter who says, "Pardon me."
Yeah. Not expecting to hear from Joe Mazzulla. I would say Joe Mazzulla, Gillette is your villain.
Oh, come on. Did you see that someone on TikTok overlaid a Joker filter on Joe Mazzulla's face saying that?
I didn't, but
it's good. Yeah. Anyway, the internet. So we need to talk about some NBA villains now. And I'm wondering, is Luka Jokic's villain because he's now 25, potentially leading a team to a championship? He's another big white Eastern European guy. Do we buy it?
No, no. I'll tell you who Jokic's villain is. It's Anthony Edwards, right? Because he knocked him out. And by the way, you know who Anthony Edwards' villain is? It's not Luka.
Wait, don't tell me. Michael Parsons.
No. It's Cameron. Killer Cam.
Why?
Murdered him on that freestyle. I don't know if you guys saw it, but check it out on Cameron's Instagram. Him and Adidas. Holy hell. But no, I digress. I don't think Jokic and Luka, because here's the deal. Even if Luka wins, he still hasn't accomplished any of the things that Jokic has accomplished in terms of, he's a 3-time MVP. And yes, Luka's been a 5-time first-team All-NBA, but he still hasn't won an MVP yet. And so it's nice to kind of say, hey, that's the guy they're going to compare him to. But the reality is, I think no one compares Jokic to Luka. Everyone compares Jokic and Embiid. Those seem to be the two guys who are the peers in that group.
All right. Well, you disagree with this, but that didn't stop our production team from making a very silly Photoshop. So we're going to need... What is that from Aladdin? Is that Jafar and Jasmine?
And Adam Silver is Jasmine, but what have we done?
No, Jokic is Jasmine.
That's Jokic? It looks like Adam Silver.
But
either way, I didn't know that Princess Jasmine was Jafar's. Back to the drawing board, guys. That's called, hey, we done stretched a little too far. Maybe that gummy break wasn't the best thing.
That might have been an air ball, but they're going to take an L because they're good sports. I do have one. I know one that is real.
Yes.
That Porzingis' villain is his calf in this situation.
For now.
Well, you could say it's his Achilles calf. What is that? Oh my God! This one is Porzingis. Is that the Hulk? I don't know what that is, but he's holding his own leg.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Is that Groot?
No, Groot's not. Groot looks like wood. It's a green guy. It is a green goblin. I was right. Wow. Okay.
What is the Groot? Oh,
plus 5 points for Amin Elhassan for his comic book knowledge. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Green Goblin was a villain. But why would shouldn't his cap be the Green Goblin and he's Spider-Man? All right.
Yeah, but I think it's hard to put a calf on someone's face and get across the fact that it's an entity. I'm
reading too much into it. I would say his calf is his villain until Game 3, and then his villain turns into the MFFL 20,000 strong at American Airlines Center. who are going to boo him incessantly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be, it's exciting. We have Porzingis versus his old team, Kyrie versus his old team. Porzingis was a full participant at practice, and he tweeted, as we said last week, in Latvian, that he would be back for the finals. But I still think he's leaving room to say Google Translate was wrong, and I never said that.
Yeah.
Do with that what you will.
Sure. Charlotte, we still have like 2 more days before the finals even tip off. We're going to talk about it a lot. We're going to talk about it there. We'll give you predictions because I know that's all you people jerk off to. Like, oh, what do you think is going to happen?
Okay,
like,
all right.
We'll give all that stuff.
This is a family-friendly show.
Well, you know, that's all right. Friday, we'll recap what happened in Game 1. We'll do it live from Boston just so you guys feel a little bit of atmosphere. But let's get to some other stuff that I think is pretty interesting happening around the league. We start with Mike Brown, head coach of the Sacramento Kings. Him and the Kings agreed to a 3-year, $30 million extension on Friday. He was the coach of the year last year, of course, and that's his second coach of the year award. He has a career record of 441 and 286. So this is my favorite thing because remember, like 2 weeks ago, they were like they're at an impasse. We don't know if it's going to happen. And I said I told our crack research staff to look up Kings seasons above 500 since 2006, which I believe was Rick Adelman's last year. Mm-hmm. And they came back hurriedly and said, well, we only found 2. It's the one that Mike Brown coached. And I said, that's the point. That's my point. This is a no-brainer. The last time they had a coach anywhere near this good was Michael Malone. He was 38 and 44, I believe. And then the next year, DeMarcus Cousins gets sick at the start of the year. They have a slow start. He gets fired. And I said, you have the right guy. What are you doing? You inept house of ineptitude? That's right. And I'm from the Department of Redundancy Department. But the point is, they did the right thing. So he gets a raise on this next upcoming year, and then he gets 2 more years at $8.5 million. Congrats to Coach Brown.
Congrats to Mike Brown. We saw him at Summer League last year. Maybe we'll see him again, and we can congratulate him. It was very nice. A lady dropped her wallet, and he just picked it up and was like, oh, you dropped your wallet. And she was like, thank you. And I was like, that's the coach of the Kings. But anyway.
And you know what I said? I said, hey, Mike Brown, you dropped your wallet. I'm like, oh, find his papers. $8.5 million a year, Mike.
We're not giving that back. Another piece of scintillating NBA information that I know our listeners and viewers are dying to hear is that Troy Weaver is out as the general manager of the Detroit Pistons. And Detroit hired him nearly 4 years ago after he was with Oklahoma City for 12 seasons. I mean, this is a cause for perhaps celebration or hope maybe for Pistons fans because the NBA's worst record in the past 2 seasons was the Pistons, and they have only won 23% of games over 4 seasons. They were very bad with Troy Weaver at the helm. So
I was like, so is how we feel? That was very
What did he do this year? He yelled at a fan or something?
Yeah, because a fan said you suck. Which
tension has been mounting.
Look, I like Troy. He's a good guy, and he's got his strengths, but when you're a general manager, it's not just doing your strengths. You got to do everything. And there's no part of this where you can say, well, I don't care about analytics. I don't care about managing personalities above, to the side, and below me. I don't care about those things. You have to be able to do all of that stuff. That's why the job is as demanding as it is. If you just want to be a scout or a talent evaluator, they've got positions for that, but ultimately those aren't the ones that call the shots. So, yeah.
Yeah. Also, look, if the next GM, if they're really bad under him too, maybe it's not a GM thing.
No, the next guy is Trajan Langdon. He's been hired to be the president of basketball operations for Detroit, which sounds like he's going to have a lot more control and less kind of checks and balances to deal with than Troy did. But again, Trajan's a guy who's coming off of 2 GM's jobs. He was under David Griffin in New Orleans, and then before that in Brooklyn under Sean Marks.
Well, our producers are going to kill us if we keep talking about the Pistons, so that's all for today, folks. 5, 4, 3, 2.
That's cha-cha-cha-cha.
I'm going to start. I've heard this song so much by this point, I'm just going to listen to it on the plane because I'll Stockholm Syndrome.
I love how he's moaning in the background.
I'm legitimately...
You're not fully clean unless you're zestfully clean.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Wait, hold on.